Well, advocates presenting the President-elect William Ruto have today put their best feet forward to really convince the 7-judge bench at the Apex Court that indeed William Ruto won the last presidential election. Good evening. This is TV47 News Tonight. We have that plus much more right ahead in this broadcast. But first, let's have a look at the headlines. Tonight, President-elect William Ruto maintains that he won the presidential election fair and square.
Form 34A was hijacked mid-air, altered, votes from one candidate losing candidate petitioner, removed, added to the votes of respondent number 1.
The Supreme Court adjourned the proceedings to tomorrow morning. IEBC Chair Wafula Chebukati has told the court that he was being harassed for performing his duties within the law.
There is nothing wrong with IEBC. There is nothing wrong with Wafula Chebukati. There is something very wrong. There is something very wrong in the way the persons who participate in the electoral process accept winning or losing.
And police in Kakamega had a hard time finding former Kakamega Senator Cleophas Malala to arrest him over electoral-related offences.
We are requesting him to appear at the police station so that we can process these cases and we take them to court for justice to be seen.
Good evening once more. My name is Eric Munene. Our sign language interpreter at the bottom end of your screen is Catherine Simalori. We begin. At a time like this, 5 years ago, the country was still reeling from the nullification of the presidential election on account of misconduct on the part of the IEBC. And today, the Commission was once again before the highest court defending its conduct of the August 2022 election, saying their accusers are on a fishing expedition in a defense that touched on most of the 9 issues earmarked by the court for determination. Moige William followed the proceedings and begins this bulletin tonight.
Exactly 5 years after the Supreme Court nullified the 2017 presidential election over irregularities and illegalities committed by the Independent Electoral and Boundaries Commission, the electoral body was once again before the Supreme Court defending itself over allegations of bungling the August 9th, 2022 general election.
Good morning.
And after 7 petitioners, 5 more than those who petitioned the poll in the first election in 2017, had a field day in court on Wednesday in their bid to convince the 7-judge bench. The IEBC had its response cut out as it went all out to show how this year's election was above board.
In this election, because of the decision that was rendered by this court in the Raila Odinga decision in 2017, the Commission, in reconceptualizing or reconfiguring its electoral architecture, gave a public portal for people to be able to also follow, thereby meeting the constitutional imperative of transparency.
IEBC legal team led by Professor Githu Muigai told the court that the poll body conducted a free, fair and verifiable election, fully guided by Constitution and the Supreme Court decision of 2017, albeit admitting facing a number of challenges.
Were the few errors that are admitted by IEBC of a magnitude to allow this court to set aside the election? It is our humble submission that the answer is no.
Muigai even took a swipe at lawyers representing Raila Odinga, who won various elective seats in the August election for what he says is applying double standards.
There are no less than 3 governors addressing you elected under this election. There are no less than 4 senators elected under this election. And there are no less than 4 members of parliament elected under this election. Are they happy with their own election? If they are, how then is it that this election is irredeemably flawed?
On the allegations of tampered election forms, IEBC, through its lawyer Kamau Karori, was quick to water down claims of doctoring of Form 34As, stating that petitioners' agents ought to have raised it at the polling station after counting of votes.
No one here is saying that there is this particular Form 34A that is different from the ones that were received.
IEBC also got to respond to the issue raised by petitioners relating to the technology used to conduct the 2022 polls, with lawyers demonstrating that IEBC system has a number of security measures making it almost impenetrable despite over 180 million attempts.
It is purely because of that verifiability that we are able to hear our colleagues appearing on this other side for the petitioners saying that they saw a gentleman called so-and-so who accessed the system. So-and-so accessed the system because of verifiability.
The presidential petition hearing entered its second day, with a 7-judge bench led by Chief Justice Martha Koome expected to retire on Saturday to write their findings and have until Monday to deliver a verdict. If the court upholds William Ruto's win, then the swearing-in will take place on the 7th day following the date on which the Supreme Court renders a decision declaring the election to be valid. If the Supreme Court nullifies the presidential results as witnessed in 2017, a fresh election will be held within 60 days. Moige William, TV 47.
Moving on, IEBC chairperson Wafula Chebukati says he is being vilified for simply doing his job in accordance with the law. Through his legal team led by Professor Githu Muigai, Chebukati says the 4 IEBC commissioners who distanced themselves from the declaration of William Ruto as president-elect were influenced by external forces to ensure the presidential election came to a premature end.
On the respondent's day in court, former Attorney General Professor Githu Muigai took to the stand. He was here to represent the man in the eye of a storm, IEBC's chairman Wafula Chebukati and IEBC. In his presentation, Githu shot down submissions and allegations raised by petitioners on Wednesday, saying they lacked evidence and were only interested in launching attacks at Chebukati.
It is made worse, my ladies and my lords, by the fact that the petitions make grave allegations of a criminal nature: fraud, tampering with election materials and results, conspiracy to unlawfully influence an election outcome, and even implied treason. Implied treason. All that without a shred of evidence. All that without a shred of evidence, especially as it relates to the Honorable Chebukati, the chairman of the commission. The vilification against this gentleman goes beyond anything we have ever had before in this courthouse. It was personalized. It was vindictive. It intended to lower his standing in our community and within the legal profession. It was unwarranted. There is nothing wrong with IEBC. There is nothing wrong with Wafula Chebukati. There is something very wrong. There is something very wrong in the way the persons who participate in the electoral process accept winning or losing. That's the problem.
Chebukati is being accused of, among others, being a lone ranger and failing to consult other IEBC commissioners in making key commission decisions, that he assigned himself a non-existence role of national returning officer, and that he engineered a rigged presidential election after failing to actualize the recommendations of the KPMG report. Besides taking over the tallying, verification and declaration of the president contrary to provisions of the Election Act.
This petition is about numbers. It is ultimately about numbers. The petitioners have tried to argue every other point except numbers.
My Lords, the court at paragraph 287 says, the duty to verify in Article 138, which I've just referred to, is placed squarely upon the Independent Electoral and Boundaries Commission, which was the first respondent. It is exercised by the various agents or officers of the first respondent. That is to say, the presiding officer at a polling station, the returning officer at the constituency level, and the chair at the National Tallying Center. No reference here to members of the commission.
Chebukati, through his lawyers, also refuted claims of being at the heart of a plot to compromise the election results transmission system after a section of the petitioners alleged that his close associates, including his PA, accessed the IEBC server remotely. On the issue of the declaration of the presidential results without announcing the results from 27 constituencies, the commission, under the chairmanship of Wafula Chebukati, says it was due to the chaos at the Bomas of Kenya.
Nobody is saying that the number that was declared by the chairman is wrong, because according to us, the numbers achieved by the president-elect is different because they have calculated it. The number achieved by the second was a different number because they have calculated it. Nobody is talking numbers here. All that they are saying is trying to challenge the process that went on at the National Tallying Center. But nobody is saying that any particular number is wrong.
Chebukati declared Deputy President William Ruto president-elect in the August general election, but Raila Odinga believes he was denied victory and wants the election nullified. Githu insisted that the general election was conducted within the law, saying it was hailed as one of the most open and transparent election. The court will issue its verdict on the petition by Monday. Sharon Baranga, TV 47.
Well, moving on, the Independent Electoral and Boundaries Commission, IEBC, has defended itself against claims that the postponement of elections in 8 electoral areas resulted in voter suppression. While fighting tooth and nail to defend its conduct of the August 9th vote, the Commission insists that the postponement had no impact whatsoever on the overall voter turnout, as TV47's Andrin Kilebi now tells us.
IEBC, while making its submissions Thursday before the 7-bench judge in the ongoing presidential petition case, dismissed claims that its decision to postpone elections in 8 electoral areas resulted in voter suppression, one of the 9 issues earmarked for determination by the Apex Court.
The allegation of voter suppression due to postponement of these elections is not a question of hypothesis. It's a question of fact. It's a question of numbers.
In a PowerPoint presentation, IEBC's lawyer Mahat Somane demonstrated how areas where elections were postponed recorded a higher percentage of voter turnout as compared to turnout recorded in neighboring areas on August 9th. For example, in Kitui rural constituency where elections were postponed, 60.29% of voter turnout was recorded compared to 60.10% voter turnout in the neighboring Kitui Central constituency, where elections were held on the 9th of August.
If you look at the constituencies for Kitui, the voter turnout for Kitui rural was 60.29%. So for us to actually make a comparative data and analysis to actually see whether there's been voter suppression, we look at the constituencies nearby and see the data we are getting from the constituencies nearby, whether the inference can be made by this court that there has been voter suppression. So to the question the court asked, whether there was voter suppression in Kitui Central constituency because of the postponed election, the answer is an emphatic no.
The data further revealed that Kacheliba and Pokot South elections posted a higher percentage compared to Kapenguria and Sigor constituencies, which neighbor the two affected areas. The narrative was similar according to IEBC's data in Kakamega and Mombasa counties, where gubernatorial elections were postponed, as well as in Nyaki West in North Imenti constituency, Kwanjenga in Embakasi South constituency, and Rongai in Nakuru County. IEBC lawyers further responded to the petitioners on allegations of unexplained discrepancies between votes cast for presidential candidates and other elective posts.
You have to minus diaspora voters, which only vote for the presidential. you have to minus prisons, which only vote in the presidential elections. Okay? And then you have to look at stations which were affected and did not have any results for any of those elective posts. For example, in some of the stations, some few stations, some violence happened. Likely they did not report for Senate. When you do that analysis, you will get the differential is 500 votes. I have done an elaborate analysis also on the stray ballots. When we get to that, I will explain. So the differential between the Senate and the presidential is 500 votes. And that 500 votes we can account for in stray ballots.
In response to concerns raised by petitioners on how important the voter turnout is to the actual declaration, IEBC explained that voter turnout reporting is done per polling station of the reporting kit.
The problem that the petitioners are having, they're saying these 56 must be of the total people in the register, which is 22,140,258. 120,258. We don't do that. We report per KIM. So if 200 people reported in that KIM and the number of registered voters is 600, we say 200 of 600 voters. We add the next KIM, 300 people have reported, we say 300 over 600 voters.
The presidential election petition will Friday enter day 3, with the 7-bench judge led by Chief Justice Martha Koome expected to give a declaration by Monday next week. Andrin Kilemi, TV 47.
Well, moving on, electronic voting technology and services company Smartmatic International has protested the Supreme Court allowing third-party access to its technology. This as petitioners' lawyers insist the move is meant to conceal evidence. Paul Kirobi with more.
The push and pull over granting of access to servers used in the election to petitioners in the presidential petition is rearing its ugly head. Yet again with Smartmatic International BV, the company contracted to provide election technology, now saying that provision of images of the NTC servers that host the Form 34C will infringe on intellectual property rights. In a statement, Smartmatic International BV says the images contain software owned and copyrighted by Smartmatic and are thus IP protected. Smartmatic International BV says that providing third parties access to their source code and security features, including transmission certificates and encryption keys, would render the system insecure as it is today for any future use in Kenya or anywhere else in the world. A lawyer representing petitioners in the presidential petition protested the lack of access to the servers while accusing IEBC of employing delaying tactics in a bid to conceal crucial evidence.
Not to provide the information that we require or provide logs that have no use to anybody. So we are requesting that the court direct further that access, forensic access, be provided to all 8 servers.
According to lawyer Philip Murgor, IEBC granted them limited access to one of the 8 servers used in the election contrary to the orders issued by the court on Tuesday, and in their access, they witnessed what they say are multiple deletions.
With the limited access provided yesterday to server number 5, our team were able to observe a large number of deletions.
In a tweet on Wednesday, IEBC said it had granted access to the parties to access the servers and the scrutiny exercise is ongoing. And in a rejoinder to Murgor's claims, IEBC lawyer Eric Ogumbo claimed that petitioners misinterpreted the order, arguing that the commission was cautious about far-reaching access that could breach the security of the systems and create a problem if the court were to order a repeat election.
When somebody says that there is a gentleman called so-and-so who accessed the server or the rear end of the result transmission network 1,000 times, it simply speaks to the fact that they had to make entries. It should not be lost that we were using, according to the jurisprudence in Maina Kiai, results from the polling stations, which is the original Form 34A. Now, if we look at the number of the polling stations, it speaks to about 46,000 and a few hundreds. It then meant that a corresponding number of entries had to be made on that Form 34C.
Smartmatic BV is, however, asking the IEBC to make available all collected data related to the results transmission system, as well as the results transmission system logs. The firm said the information should be sufficient to extensively audit the results transmission system and to verify that it worked properly. It is a matter that caught the attention of the court, with Justice Isaac Leneola urging respondents to raise their issues Thursday after the court receives the report.
You can address the question of what you're calling non-compliance. You can address the question of what servers you think were not accessed. You can address the question of the information that you received, your agents were there. And you, IEBC, can respond to say what are your answers to the complaints by the petitioner's advocates, and then the court will ultimately determine what is the import of all the things you are saying. That report was meant for the court to make a decision on the issues you raised. So as far as we are concerned, that matter is spent. Please address us tomorrow substantively on each of the questions once you see the report, which is actually being prepared right now.
Paul Kirobi, TV47, Nairobi.
Attorney General Kihara Kariuki now says that the National Security Advisory Committee members visited the Independent Electoral and Boundaries Commission IEBC Chairman Wafula Chebukati at the Bomas of Kenya to discuss security matters and not the ongoing elections. Chepto Boit now reports.
Consolidated with E002.
The Attorney General Kihara Kariuki has distanced himself from taking sides in the presidential petition in court, in which Azimio leader Raila Odinga is disputing the presidential results that declared William Ruto as the president-elect.
He has filed a notice of intention not to oppose any of the petition in which he is joined as a party pursuant to Rule 11.2 of the Supreme Court Election Petition Rules 2017, and would wish to declare that the Attorney General is completely neutral on the dispute before this Honorable Court.
Through his lawyer George Oraro, the Attorney General has hit at IEBC Chairman Wafula Chebukati for making grave allegations that the National Security Advisory Committee members met him and warned him against declaring Ruto as the president-elect.
Having led them, the chairman claims that Mr. Kiara proceeded to caution him, among others, that if IEBC declared the results with Honorable Ruto as the president-elect, chaos would erupt and that the blood of dead Kenyans will be in their hands.
While accepting that the meeting between the NSAC and the IEBC took place, the AG has refuted claims alluding that the visit at the Bomas of Kenya was due to tension mounting in the country, which was instigated by non-transmission of results on the 13th and 14th of August. According to Oraro, Chebukati's allegations tainted the image of the official, who he described as a Kenyan of integrity.
He is trying to allege that a top executive of government would have gone and made this declaration in the presence of all these people. This claim is, of course, denied.
According to Head of Public Service Joseph Kinywa's affidavit, Chebukati was in a meeting with NSAC where he briefed them on the preparation of the general election and sought to involve it in matters security.
That the meeting indeed took place, and what was discussed was issues of security, as was indicated by Mr. Kiara. The allegations made by the chairman are extremely grave.
The Attorney General-led team now wants the court to clarify the exact role of IEBC chairperson together with the commissioners.
The Office of the Attorney General wants a clarification of this provision for future election and on how it impacts on other commissions. Is executive role conferred on the chairman, or the chairman is part of the commission and can only act in community with the commission.
Chepto Boit, TV47, Nairobi.
Meanwhile, the Kenya Kwanza Brigade today accused Azimio leader Raila Odinga of orchestrating a plot with senior government officials together with the 4 dissenting commissioners in order to rig the elections in their favor. The lawyers led by senior counsel Fred Ngatia asked the court to dismiss the petitions filed against President-elect William Ruto on grounds of, among others, hearsay and lack of tangible evidence.
in a bid to defend the victory. President-elect William Ruto and Deputy President-elect Rigathi Gachagua today afternoon filed their responses before the Supreme Court, saying they won the election fair and square, leaving nothing to chance as they canvassed their defense around the 9 issues laid out by the court that could render the winners being null and void. Senior counsel Fred Ngatia, who set the stage for the Kenya Kwanza defense before the 7-judge bench led by Chief Justice Martha Koome, urged the court to look for substantive truth, finality and stability in the elections.
When you look at this case, devoid of lawyers' arguments, you find it is based on certain planks. Plank number 1, Form 34A was hijacked mid-air, altered, votes from one candidate, losing candidate petitioner, removed, added to the votes of respondent number 1.
Ngatia, who in 2017 defended both President Kenyatta and now President-elect William Ruto in 2 election petitions, further told the court that the relief sought in the petition by Azimio la Umoja coalition leader Raila Odinga could plunge the country into a constitutional crisis.
In my submission, therefore, amongst the many things this court is now being called upon to do, is to find a way of moderating, I use the word moderating now in the correct sense, the excesses in the political contestants.
Professor Kithure Kindiki, who also doubled up as President-elect William Ruto's chief agent, called out the petitioners for dragging the forms verification exercise at the Bomas of Kenya, which he says was meant to snatch away the win.
The petitioners have failed to discharge their burden of proof, which is above balance of probabilities, to demonstrate that indeed there was any deficiency or defect in Form 34A or in their transmission, and I adopt the submissions made by my colleagues, especially for IEBC.
Katwa Kigen, on his part, took the issue on the integrity of the technology deployed by IEBC head on. Kigen argued that the election results were based on the hard copies of Forms 34As that were verified, and there is no one who has presented contrary forms. The lawyers also submitted to the Apex Court that the postponement of the gubernatorial elections in Kakamega and Mombasa didn't affect the voter turnout.
As laid down by my senior counsel, Fred Ngatia, that is to be found under Article 38 of the Constitution. But more importantly, we have a history as a country. We are a country that has been privileged to legislate on each and every issue that has been litigated before these courts. We are a country that even legislates on the time between which a president should be sworn in office.
Kiragu Kimani, on his part, poked holes on the Arnold Odinga's affidavit, which states that there was willful and deliberate tampering with Forms 34A.
Look at what has been presented before this court. And it's quite easy to come to this court and say, listen, somewhere between the people expressing their will and the declaration of the results, there has been some tampering.
The mentioned public officers, who include civilian state officers, including a cabinet secretary, senior military officials, including the vice chief of defense forces, head of police, head of intelligence, the head of public service and chief of staff, which itself is an illegal position under our constitution. All those people have not denied that they met the IEBC.
A legal showdown is expected tomorrow as all parties will be rebattling, responding and clarifying to questions and statements raised on the floor of the court. Stanley Nyeringita, TV 47, Nairobi.
Well, at 28 minutes past the hour, time now for a very short break. Don't go away, we'll be back with more.
of Untold Stories. Sona moja imetengenezwa kwa njia spesheli ili kupambana na maumivu kwa haraka. Sona moja ina aspirin kama kiungo. Sona moja, kitulizo kamili. Maumivu yakizidi, pata ushauri wa daktari.
Tryson School of Medical Health Science and Technology is a premier training institute for market-driven courses. With state-of-the-art facilities, competent and dedicated members of staff, and linkages with the medical industry, you are assured of a bright future when you study with us. Enroll today in our campuses at Juja, Nairobi West, Kisumu, and Homa Bay.
Kaluma King Herbal Lozenges zinazo nguvu maradufu kutuliza kikohozi, vidonda vya koo na mafua. Kaluma King ni shwari.
Chika mama huyo muharifu kaiba kuku zangu, vifaranga wangu na mayai zote pia kabeba. Aya, chika mama huyo.
Maumivu yakizidi, muone daktari.
Do you aspire to acquire knowledge and skills relevant to the job market and entrepreneurship? Join us at KIPS Technical College, one of the largest NEC examination centers in Kenya and the premier tertiary institution established and mandated to operate by TVET Authority. We lead when it comes to offering high-quality technical and professional training and bringing out the best in our students. Our ultra-modern learning facilities, highly qualified and experienced lecturers, attachment liaison office, counseling office make us the preferred choice. Limited HELB loans are available to students. Our intake is ongoing for full-time, evening and online classes. Join us today and experience the KIPS difference. KIPS Technical College, your sure path to success.
You are watching TV47, the home of Untold Stories.
Welcome back and thanks for staying with us. The first and second day of hearings of the presidential petition has since raised some questions that the Supreme Court judges determining the case led by the Chief Justice Martha Koome sought to clarify from the submissions made by the petitioners and the response filed by the respondents respectively. The legal teams representing both sides are expected to answer the questions tomorrow.
Still on numbers.
Today witnessed the second round of questions from the bench of the respondents seeking to understand the defense presented in court ahead of their determination. Picking on the division within the IEBC, lawyers representing its chair, Wafula Chebukati, will have to answer why the chair remained silent on what happened regarding the 4 breakaway commissioners.
Please comment on the walking away of the 4 commissioners almost at the same time as the chair was about to declare the results.
The question was raised by the Chief Justice Martha Koome, the Deputy Chief Justice Philomena Mwilu, and Justice William Ouko, who sought to understand why that had to happen moments away from the big announcement.
Does their walking out mean anything under Article 140? If it does, what is it? If it doesn't, why not?
Justice Isaac Lenaola also fired a question on why IEBC chairperson failed to seek any consensus with the party team of commissioners and why he went ahead to declare the results amid the chaos at the Bomas of Kenya despite having an extra day to do so.
But remember that there was an extra day by which Mr. Chebukati could have declared the result. Why did he not wait until that day? Violence or no violence? Perhaps you have another reason. Reach out to the commissioners, the 4 that are now named the 4. Try and reach a consensus. Address the question of the 27 constituencies so that these suspicions that have now cropped up would not have been an issue. Is there any other reason why he did not take advantage of the extra day to do what he had to do?
Senior Counsel Kamau Karori, Advocates Eric Gumbo and Mahat Somane were given an assignment in which they will be expected to clarify to the panel on what capacity the IEBC chairperson Wafula Chebukati was appointed, his roles comparing to other commissioners.
I would like to know whether he was gazetted as an agent of the commission or he was gazetted as national returning officer.
And what is the role of the other commissioners? I think this is bothering me, especially because it seems to me that your client and the IEBC suggest that the chairperson works with the CEO, and I feel a bit concerned. The CEO is not vetted by Parliament. He is appointed, but he seems to wield immense powers over and above the other commissioners.
At what point in this corporate entity scenario does the chair then disengage from the other commissioners? Be they 2 or be they 5 or 6? When do you say this is chair qua chair and this is chair as part of the commission? Because we need to understand that.
Advocate Mahat Somane was attacked with a submission question raised yesterday by Okia Omtata, who claimed that 1.6 million votes continued to stream in many hours after voting was closed. The advocate was as well fired with a question seeking details of the maintenance contract given to the Venezuelan citizen days before the election.
If I understood you correctly, this Venezuelan was accessing the server as part of the maintenance. So what is this maintenance? What does it entail? What was he doing there? Say he was released and locked out just before the election. So what was he maintaining in that system? Maybe you just want to tell us what maintenance entails as part of that contract agreement.
And at what point the Form 34A's JPEG images converted to PDF?
At what point you've taken the image, you've asked all the questions, very good questions you've asked, the system has asked you the question, at what point does it convert to PDF?
The petitioners' legal team, which made their submissions yesterday, was also fired with tough questions, which they will answer to the Supreme Court on Friday. The lawyers were attacked for the submissions they made concerning possible tampering with the Forms 34As uploaded in the IBC public portal. The councils were asked to detail with evidence on how changes could have been made in the handwritten forms. The judges were interested to know the relevance of the rejected votes in determining the election results and how the postponement of the elections in some constituencies, Kakamega and Mombasa counties, would have affected the polls outcome. Paul Munio TV 47.
Well, the split among commissioners in the Independent Electoral and Boundaries Commission is turning out to be one of the key areas of interest in the presidential petition, with the judges for the second day in a row seeking to unearth the genesis of the fallout and its impact. Here's Elizabeth Atieno with the tough questions for the breakaway commissioners.
A fallout in the Independent Electoral and Boundaries Commission, which came to the fore on the 15th of August 2022, where 4 commissioners, including Vice Chair Juliana Cherera, Francis Wanderi, Justus Nyang'aya and Irene Masit, disputed the declaration of the presidential results after disagreeing with the chair Wafula Chebukati, became one of the main highlights in the 2-day submission before the Apex Court. The split in the commission has caught the attention of the 7-judge bench, who now seek answers on specific roles of the 6 commissioners as per Article 140 and 138(3)(c) of the Constitution, and if they have the mandate to declare their own results.
A commissioner would have to conduct an election, a general election. Let's not just say presidential, but a general election. Therefore, what is the role of the commissioner, the 7 commissioners? Back to my question number 1, and strictly under Article 140 for me, and 138(3)(c) Drisi.
I'm trying to figure out whether this is a Chebukati problem. Is it a leadership problem? Is it a commissioner's problem? What's this problem we're seeing? I'm trying to understand that, and I'd like to hear that.
Lady Justice Njoki Ndung'u in her question also seeks to understand the leadership and management in the commission as opposed to the management of the presidential election.
So what is the check for this all-powerful chair if the commissioners have nothing to do with his role? What would happen if the chair was to announce the wrong results completely? Or if he was mentally incapacitated or sick, or worst case scenario, dead? Who then would announce the results?
On her part, Chief Justice Martha Koome asked why the IEBC chair Wafula Chebukati delayed in informing Kenyans about the dissenting voices in the commission despite having the opportunity to do so.
Why didn't the chairman tell Kenyans exactly what happened? That we conducted this election, we came to the National Tallying Center, we have these results, but some of the colleagues have a dissenting voice. They will tell Kenyans why they are dissenting.
Justice Smoky Nwanjala, in his part, seeks to establish at what point the chair disengaged from the other commissioners, a question that arises from Githu Muigai's submission after he told the court that the commission was fully constituted till the 11th and a half hour, but the split came just a half an hour before the declaration.
If, in fact, the commissioners, I would have thought that one of the most important oversight roles in the commissioner's life would be when they are overseeing the verification and tallying of the presidential election result at the center before the same is then declared on behalf but for the people of Kenya by the chair.
The 4 dissenting commissioners will tomorrow respond to these questions and are expected to argue their points in support of the Azimio la Umoja petition. The 4 commissioners' petition is crystallized around issue number 6, set for determination on whether the IEBC carried out verification, tallying and declaration of results in accordance with provisions of Article 138(3)(c) and 138(10) of the Constitution.
Why the live streaming of the results stopped? Because if Kenyans were able to follow the streaming from the beginning to the end, which was being done in the spirit of accountability and stability and transparency, then the rhyme which we were being told of the pige ponki would not arise.
In their affidavit, the 4 commissioners accused IEBC Chair Wafula Chebukati of failure to meet standards of transparency, accountability and independence of IEBC as stipulated in the law, especially under Article 138 of the Constitution. Elizabeth Atieno, TV 47.
Away from the Supreme Court now, Western Directorate of Criminal Investigation Officer Chacha Magwe and Regional Police Commandant Peris Kimani want outgoing Kakamega Senator Cleophas Malala to present himself in the nearest police station after their efforts to arrest him in his Milimani home were unsuccessful. Speaking to the press shortly after raiding the former lawmaker's home, the two said Malala has 4 separate cases to answer, among them robbery with violence and causing chaos during the just concluded August 29th poll.
A contingent of police officers in plain clothes raided outgoing Kakamega County Senator Cleophas Malala's home at around 1:30 p.m. in pursuit of Malala. The officers reportedly jumped over the fence and broke the padlocks at the main gate, gaining entry and surrounded his Milimani home to arrest him over several charges, among them causing violence in the just concluded gubernatorial elections. Their efforts to gain entry into the house were in vain, an event that took close to 3 hours.
We don't know the issue. Our lawyer is here. They have not shown us any arrest warrant, any breaking warrant. They're just breaking in.
His family, led by Senator's parents, cited the move as a political witch hunt.
Cleo has fought for his space as a young man. He has put himself in a position in a position. And now, look, you want to frustrate a man. Is he a thief? Ask him stolen from anybody.
Tell Paranya to get out of this, and tell Paranya his son cannot be tortured like this. We are Kenyans and we are going to fight over this. We are going to fight over this. You cannot torture my son like this. It's not allowed. It's not allowed in Kenya, no. Let us go to court. When is he a criminal where you're coming like thieves around here? My son is not a criminal. Surely, why are you frustrating our son? Why?
Cleo has accepted defeat. Bado mnamtaka.
The Western Police Commandant Peris Kimani and DCI counterpart Chacha Magwe maintained that Malala is linked to 4 cases, among them causing violence during the August 29th gubernatorial election.
It is not that we are investigating Malala alone. We are investigating all the wrongdoers who committed offenses on 29th of August, election offenses.
They want the outgoing Senator Cleophas Malala to present himself in the nearest police station for law to take its course.
We are requesting him to appear at the police station so that we can process these cases and we take them to court for justice to be seen.
Malala emerged second in the Kakamega gubernatorial race after ODM's Fernandez Baraza, where he conceded defeat, pledging to support the government of the day. Violet Auma, TV47, Kakamega.
The IRCK committee in Kenya has asked the Mombasa Governor-elect Abdul Swamad Nasir to outline the plans that he has to settle the 4.29 billion shillings debt that was left behind by the outgoing county government. However, Abdul Nasir on his side has said that he is aware of the debt and has promised to come up with a plan to pay it off.
Kitu cha kwanza tunamuomba akiingie ahakikishe amepitisha hiyo SGBV policy ndani ya bunge. Amechukua jukumu la Mombasa, jukumu limekuja na madeni. Madeni makubwa kama mnavyoona kwenye vyombo vya habari, kuna deni ya 4.2 billion. Tunamuomba tafadhali, deni hili lisimfanye yeye Mombasa isiendelee. Kama kiongozi atafute njia mbadala ya kuhakikisha deni imefanya nini? Imelipwa.
Ni wakati tunauliza hili deni la 4.2 billion itaondoka vipi bila kuumiza mkaaji wa Mombasa County. Hiyo ndio kilio chetu.
We cannot run away from debt, but what we can do is after they've already been audited, kwa hizi debt ziko, then the first thing we want to do is priority number 1, like I said, we have the human resource, which is the biggest resource in the county government. Lazima tuangalie mambo ya mishahara. Pili, baada ya hapo lazima tuweze kuangalia wale walioweza kufanya zile biashara. Lazima tukae nao chini, tuwapatie mikakati ya kuweza kuwalipa ni vipi. Deni hizi nyingine zinapita miaka 8, miaka 7. Suluhisho ni kuhakikisha ya kwa tusiwe na madeni mapya, na yale ya zamani tuweze kuyalipa.
Police officers in Limuru constituency in Kiambu County have launched a manhunt for a middle-aged woman who is accused of causing grievous bodily harm to her 9-year-old son with a kitchen knife. Beatrice Watare with the shocking details.
Narrating the unfortunate incident, Peter Ngige, an uncle to the minor, said he was alerted by the neighbors when they heard commotion from the victim's home in Majiri in Kaboku village and decided to intervene and rush the boy to the hospital before proceeding to the police station.
Nikaambiwa yeye mtoto wenyu anakufia kwanyu. Si mimi nikatoka kwenda hapo kwa nyumba nikakuta mtoto akaniita yeye aniko mimi nitakufa. Si mimi ndio sasa nikamchukua nikamleta St. Paul. Sikumleta St. Paul nikatumwa hapa kwa polisi. Mimi nikafikisha ripoti yangu.
According to Peter, their sister committed the heinous act after he failed to find out where he kept his school socks.
Mekato vidole mama yake akitafuta socks ya asubuhi ya kwenda shule. Mimi hakuniambia kitu kingine.
While rescuing the minor, George Ngugi, a child rights defender, condemned the act and urged parents to find other ways of solving domestic disputes rather than channeling their anger on their kids.
Mtoto amekatwa mikono na mama yake asubuhi na akamfungia kwa nyumba, ambaye niliacha ile kazi nilikuwa nafanya, nikakibia baka Majiri, nikarescue mtoto tukiwa na assistant chief wa hiyo area, na tukakuja Majiri police post ambaye tumeripoti hiyo case. Niko na OB na saa hii nachukua mtoto nipeleke Tigoni hospitali ambaye ndipo atibiwe.
After doing a thorough search, police who responded to the incident recovered a kitchen knife with bloodstains, which is now an exhibit under their custody. Reporting for TV47, my name is Beatrice Watare.
You are watching TV47, the home of untold stories.
How well do you know the people around you? Well, for Alex, his network is his net worth. Through the contacts that he made in his music career, he's been able to build Kijiji Cuisine to what it is now.
Do you know what it takes to even stay at a place in a business for that long?
Yeah. Join me, Violet Njoki, as I dine with Alex Milenya, Monday, 7:30 p.m.
Usiyakubalie maumivu ya misuli kukatiza ratiba yako. Kaluma Pain Balm ni dawa ya kusugua iliyotengenezwa kutoka kwa miche maalum ili kutuliza maumivu ya misuli. Kaluma Pain Balm. Maumivu yakizidi, pata ushauri wa daktari.
Despite being visually impaired, he is a jack of all trades. It is our quest to find answers on how to take care of children with special needs and those with disability. You do not need to see musical notes to understand music, but rather to have your soul feel the vibe.
Actually, for us to make a wheelchair, we have to take measurements of the user.
After doing my assessment, I get to know the parent, I get to know the heaviness she's carrying.
Disability comes at different stages of life.
Well, do you know what's happening around you? Morning Cafe with heated political debates. Baraza la Siasa.
Hiyo kitu azungumzie, angalie hali ya maisha ya watu.
Informative health discussions. Business, farming. Tasty Wednesday, Fitness Thursday, and Feel Good Friday with amazing DJs, celebs,
waimbaji, kuna comedians, alafu kuna wajinga,
and music bands every Monday to Friday from 6 a.m. to 9 a.m. The next set of millionaires are farmers, as we know agriculture has been and still is the backbone of our economy. As we traverse the different counties to meet different farmers, we ensure to get the story of how they started farming and even how they continue to penetrate the market and overcome the challenges.
Hapa, the reason why nilieka goose na si ducks. Goose, they are very easy to maintain.
A lot of farmers keep on calling, inquiring whether you're supposed to raise some seeds in the nursery or you're supposed to do them directly in the field.
The greenhouse helps us control the temperature because the temperature needs to be between 28 to 32 degrees.
Walk this journey with us every Sunday at 6.
Welcome back and thanks for staying with us. Now, right here in the newsroom, we say all work without play makes Dennis Otieno a dull boy. Dennis, what do you have for us?
I mean, that's an amazing statement. Of course, all work without play makes Dennis a dull boy, owing to the respect that I'm all sporty. Well, it is about time we get into the world of sports. And tonight, we have a lot that's lined up for you. We'll be telling you about Kenya taking part in the ODI Championship against Nepal. Also, we'll be telling you what to expect when the NCBA Golf Series kicks off this weekend. Of course, those among the many stories that we've lined up for you in the world of sports. And just to start us off is Matters Athletics. Now, a contingent of the National Olympics Committee of Kenya NOC officials, led by NOC President Paul Tergat, have travelled to France, where they intend to sign a memorandum of understanding with the Miramas Commune in preparation for the Paris 2024 Olympic Games. The endeavour aligns with NOC's strategic direction for the year 2022 to 2024 of strengthening sports diplomacy and international relations. The primary objective of the partnership is to benefit individual athletes in the preparation towards the Olympic, including athletes training, coaches training, technical support in sports and infrastructure development and exchange programs.
Identified France for natural reason that it's where we are going to have the Paris 2024 Olympics, and we've been looking out on possible places, possible cities, possible towns which we can partner with, and we are very happy that we've had several visits to Miramas in the southern part of France, and they have expressed their willingness and they're excited about going into partnership with us to get several opportunities for us.
Now, the national men's cricket team will be looking to avenge their T20 series defeat against Nepal when they face off against the same team in a 3-match one-day international ODI tournament at the Gymkhana Club. Kenya, which was ranked 30th in the International Cricket Council ICC standings, rose up to 2 places to 28th after securing 2 victories against Nepal in their T20 matches, while Nepal dropped 2 places in the rankings to 16th. Kenya, which is slowly rebuilding its lost glory in the sport, lost its ICC ODI status in 2014 due to poor results that saw the Ministry of Sports disband the federation and appointed a normalization committee. Heading into the opening match of the 3-part ODI series, Kenya men's cricket team head coach David Obuya pointed the importance of his team being quick between the wickets. Now, from cricket to Matters Golf, and the Vet Lab Sports Club will this weekend play host to the latest leg of the 2022 NCBA Golf Series. The event teed off early this year and has attracted more than 1,600 amateur golfers who will tee off early in the morning, with the first group expected to tee off at 7 a.m. The golfers will compete for slots to play at the series' grand finale to be played at the Muthaiga Golf Club in December this year, while top finishers at the final event will win an all-expense-paid trip to South Africa's Fancourt Country Club. Speaking ahead of the tournament, NCBA Group Managing Director John Gashora expressed his excitement over the return of the tournament, adding that it will go a long way in providing an opportunity for golfers around the country to showcase their talent. The Eastern Region Kenya Secondary School Sports Association KSSA Term 2 Games kicked off earlier today in Embu County, bringing together 1,880 students from 8 counties in the region. The 3-day showpiece being held in various venues including Kangaroo School, Kangaroo Girls School, Embu University and Embu Talent Academy comprise of 11 disciplines including soccer, handball, basketball, hockey, rugby, netball and tennis. The games have resumed after a 2-year suspension occasioned by the outbreak of COVID-19 in March 2020. In the preliminary games played earlier today, Makueni girls beat Embu's Kerwa Mixed Secondary School 1-0 in hockey to earn 3 points and go on the top of the group. That also includes Chogoria girls from Meru and Thitani girls from Kitui.
Anoboni handball, Kwandanze volleyball. Hawa ni East African defending champions. So tunatumainia kwamba